Welcome to Talk is Cheap, where cheap is talk and talk is cheap. On tonight's episode, why the fuck do we have money? What are these banks doing to us? And we're all slaves in our own rights. Join us on Talk is Cheap. Ladies and gentlemen and everybody in between, to another exciting episode of Talk is Cheap. My name is Pete Halbleib, and to my left is
Dan Hohlfeld.
And joining us now for the third time in a row, Dusty is on some super secret mission. Have we heard from him since last time?
I'm trying to remember what the fucking mission I put him on. I can't even remember.
He's probably waiting for you.
He's out at Mars right now. Mars, maybe he's on that secret project that we talked about last time.
Corey Good stopped by and picked him up and took him on a little tour of the solar system or something.
Blue avians in the sphere.
Anyway,
he's going to come back all depressed and shit. I'm Andrew Hohlfeld. Thanks for having me.
Right when you hear about that shit, it's like coming back to this. No.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Andy, again. It's been nice having you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you really pretty up the panel here. So that's good. Yeah.
What do you got for us today there, bud?
Well, for those that have been paying attention, we had the last couple episodes we talked about, Corey Good and what the message that he brought basically from his adventures in the galaxy or galaxies, and kind of the need or the non-need for us to have kind of the current social political system we have, because technology is out there and available to really provide for us, and without the need for money, without the need to go to work and all that stuff. Well, it was pretty cool because this kind of ties in with that a little bit. One of our viewers, William Farver 2, that he goes, I'm guessing his name is William Farver, but his username is William Farver 2.
William Farver was taken already, probably.
Yeah. Had given us a suggestion. It suggested looking into the financial system, why we feel the need to make money and how money's created and at the end of the day disappears. And so I started digging into this, and it kind of took a turn. So this is it starts out a little bit talking about that and then goes into something kind of a modern human slavery and human farming. And so I'm going to try to tie this all together. And William Farver, you sent me down a freaking rabbit hole, man. And I'm looking forward to doing some more of this stuff. So thank you. Excellent suggestion. We're really glad you're tuning in.
I think it's a very important topic, yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to start us off with really quick here. This is a great video. We're not going to watch much of it, but it opens just great, and it's got a cool little musical interlude. All right, that's the extent of the video that I'm going to show you here.
Holy shit. You overdid it.
Yeah. So, okay, Henry Ford, 1922, we can leave his personal and political views aside, basically recognized now almost 100 years ago that we've got a bit of a farce of a monetary system here. And I know in the past we've talked a lot about the banks and the elite controlling the world, and pulling a lot of strings, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, those types of families that have really, they keep coming up when you talk about Illuminati and the one New World Order, one world government, stuff like that. And they've been known to finance both sides of many wars, create wars. I wanted to spend just a few minutes here quick talking about how the banks actually create money out of thin air. Okay.
See, now I'm interested to hear this.
Okay, so
this is the actual breakdown.
Yeah. It is. I'm gonna really kind of bundle it up and oversimplify it here.
That's
but
good.
But I think it's something that people will understand. First, I have a question. What do banks do? What is the job of a bank? How do they make their money?
Any regular bank.
Yep, a bank.
To control the money.
What is what we think it's supposed to be, or the official?
Well, either or. What does a bank do? how does a bank make money? What is the bank's job?
They're supposed to lend money and get paid on the interest.
On the interest, yes. Right? Okay, so it's not about keeping our money safe. It's not about protecting money. It's about them making money on interest.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So we know that when the Federal Reserve was created, that was kind of the first initial downfall. That's when we first started, getting away from backing everything in gold. Okay, and it's the good faith, right, of the United States. It's good faith dollar. Oh, we'll pay you back. We don't have the gold. We don't have the actual.
Now, one excuse I have heard that they didn't want to back it by gold anymore, is that just so they could print more because there's more people?
Yeah, if you had to get the actual gold, put it in Fort Knox, and then print that money, you'd never grow the wealth as quickly as it's grown. Because now the Federal Reserve, which is privately held, can now just run money, print it, just print it, whatever they want. So, a bank, when you put $1,000 in the bank is only required to keep, say, about 10% of that on hand. The other 90% they can turn around and loan out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a bank. I loan Andy $100. Okay, Andy then puts that into his savings account. I now only need to keep $10 of that I just lent him in the bank, and now I can give Dan a $90 loan with that $90 left over of Andy's that was in the bank. Okay, now I only need to keep 10% of that, so now I've got $19 in the bank and $181 loaned out. I can loan out that $81 now to another person, to Dusty if he ever shows up from wherever the heck he's at, right? And so, if I were to do that just twice, the $90 and then the $81, I have created a total of $271 now out of that initial $100 that Andy originally borrowed from me. Now I can dingy on interest on it because it's a loan. So, if you do this operation 50 times, that $100 turns into $995.25, $885.25 in loans, and the original $100.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
So, what do they do if we claim back? How does this work? Right? If
all of a sudden everybody now wants to get all their money out, the banks collapse. There isn't the money there. It's all imaginary. There is not enough money. If everybody walked down to the local credit union that had accounts there and wanted all their savings back, that credit union would not have it.
And this happened multiple times, so we're way in debt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been going on for 100 years. I mean, look at what Henry Ford is saying 100 years ago. Okay, so
and 1913 was the Federal Reserve when it started.
Is that the date? I don't even know.
Yep. So, yeah. And they passed that Christmas when all the Congress
was on vacation with
their
and their families. They do that a lot, don't they?
Yep.
How convenient.
Okay, so I've kind of set the stage here, right? Because now we've got consumerism. You need to borrow money to buy a motorcycle. You need to borrow money to buy cool recording equipment, let's say, stuff like that. So now, what do you have to do to get that money? You've got to work, right? Which is a very profitable thing for the people that are employing you and the government as well. The government wants you to borrow money to work because now they get taxes from you. Not only taxes that come out of your paycheck, but taxes when you buy stuff, right? Property taxes.
Depends on where you buy it.
Yeah. Fees, registrations, all that stuff. So they want to get you into this debt trap, okay? And the banks are just willing to do this. Keep loaning. I only need to keep 10% out. So there it goes. And now the government then has you under control, because now you're stuck working to pay that off because they can threaten you with jail time and all that other stuff, and bad stuff like that if you start defaulting on debts and doing stuff like that. So
debtor's prison.
So this is really where I diverge now from what William Farver had suggested, because I came across this video online, and this is great too. I recommend everybody check this out. I've watched it probably 6 times in the last 6 months. I just watch it every now and then to remind myself of what really is going on. I'm going to play little segments. We'll talk about it, but this is really good. It's got over 5 million views. I hope that our viewers bump that up a little bit more. Okay.
The greatest resource for any human being to control is not natural resources or tools or animals or land, but other human beings.
Okay. The greatest resource for you to control, anybody to control, is another human being. Right?
Yeah.
And I just...
Total control.
Right? And now the question is, how do you control that, right?
Through the monetary system.
Yeah, yep, but and early on in the history, it was done through like outright slavery, right?
Yeah, but that was too obvious.
Yeah, well, it was low. It took a lot of resources to control the people, low productivity. Henceforth and hitherto, it's costly to own slaves and to run stuff like that. So basically, what this video talks about is that we have to understand that we are all part of a human farm, and a human farming is going on. I got another little segment here.
Farm Simulator.
I love Farm Simulator.
Human Farm Simulator.
No, that's a Matrix.
This human farming has been the most profitable and destructive occupation throughout history, and it is now reaching its destructive climax. Human society cannot be rationally understood until it is seen for what it is. A series of farms where human farmers own human livestock. Some people get confused because governments provide healthcare and water and education and roads, and thus imagine that there is some benevolence at work. Nothing could be further from the reality. Farmers provide healthcare and irrigation and training to their livestock. Some
They
people
just
get
sit there and
confused
take
because
it,
we are
too.
allowed certain liberties and thus imagine that our
Sometimes they have
governments
to.
protect our freedoms. But farmers plant their crops a certain distance apart to increase their yields, and will allow certain animals larger stalls or fields if it means they will produce more meat and milk. In your country, your tax farm, your farmer grants you certain freedoms, not because he cares about your liberties, but because he wants to increase his profits. Are you beginning to see the nature of the cage?
Happy worker is a productive worker. You ever heard that before?
Yep.
So now, he explains now how, the time of having the guy running the whip or sitting with a shotgun, in the fields or doing stuff, basically is in the past. And now, hey, you get weekends off. You only have to work 8 hours a day, right? And think of it, because about a third of our paycheck goes to the government, right? And that's our paycheck goes to the government, but our labor, our wares, goes to the big man, right? At the head of the company, the CEO or whatever, board of directors. They're making money off it. Government's making money off it. Banks are making money off it.
That's the value here is your labor.
Yeah, right. So somebody's got to do the work, right?
That's what gives money value. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what gives money value is that we give it value, saying, yes, this $100 bill is worth my 8 hours of labor,
Right.
10 hours of labor, right? Yeah, so that's kind of how it is. But it's not, the $100 bill itself is not.
It's not shit.
Yeah, it's a piece of
and
paper.
it's declined so much.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I talked about this a little bit, the 4 phases of human farming. And again, it puts it way more eloquently than I can. And I recommend everybody, like I said, watch this.
There have been 4 major phases of human farming.
This
The
is what I was
first
trying to
phase
explain.
in ancient Egypt was direct and brutal human compulsion. Human bodies were
Sit in
controlled,
the
but the
ground.
creative productivity of the human mind remained beyond the reach of
Thought
the
I'd
whip
point that out.
and the brand and the
I
shackles.
skipped the part where they showed him kicking the puppy.
Slaves remained
Oh,
woefully
call.
underproductive and required enormous resources to control. The second phase was the Roman model, wherein slaves were granted some capacity for freedom, ingenuity, and creativity,
Phase 1,
which raised
slavery.
their productivity.
Phase 2, Roman model.
This increased the wealth of Rome, and thus the tax income of the Roman government, and with this additional wealth, Rome became an empire,
What's the number?
destroying the economic freedoms that fed its power
Oh.
Yeah, the years.
and collapsed. I'm sure that this does not seem entirely unfamiliar. After the collapse of Rome, the feudal model introduced the concept of livestock ownership and taxation. Instead of being directly owned,
Here's
peasants
phase 3.
farmed land that they could retain as long as they paid off the local warlords. This model eventually broke down due to the continual subdivision of productive land and was destroyed during the enclosure movement when land was consolidated and hundreds of thousands of peasants were kicked off their ancestral lands because new farming techniques made larger farms more productive with fewer people. The increased productivity of the later Middle Ages created the excess food required for the expansion of towns and cities, which in turn gave rise to the modern democratic model of human ownership.
There's phase 4.
As displaced peasants flooded into the cities, a huge stock of cheap human capital became available to the rising industrialists. And the ruling class of human farmers quickly realized that they could make more money by letting their livestock choose their own occupations.
Right? Oh, wait a minute.
Drop illusion. The big
Yeah.
illusion.
Yep. Because what are we taught at an early age, right?
It could be anything.
Yeah, you can do anything you want. You focus on what you can do to make money, right?
Yep.
And support yourself. It's not about, working with off-planet alien technology to replicate our own food and stuff. No, it's like the expectation is that we fall in line, we go to school, we get a job, we work this job for 50 years, and then we retire.
Yeah,
And if we make it that long.
Well, it's always the American dream too, just to have a family and have that white picket fence. That's all you're paying for is just I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what we're taught we need. I mean, us as humans, we don't need much to actually survive, and we're told we need the latest iPhones and the cool jeans
Hey, I
and
got
the
those.
fast, and the
latest.
fast, yeah. Well,
Hey, I go every 4 years.
it doesn't matter. We're all part of this.
Yeah.
We are not above what this guy's talking about. We're just as brainwashed and suckered in, but we're not dreaming anymore, man. We're starting to wake up, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to do is wake up and get enough people to wake up to say, hey, enough is enough. This is bullshit. So this human farming deal is not like as easy as it sounds. There are some challenges to it. And here's a really brief segment from the video that talks about some of the challenges.
The great challenge of the democratic model is that increases in wealth and freedom threaten the farmers. The ruling classes initially profit from a relatively free market in capital and labor, but as their livestock become more used to their freedoms and growing wealth, they begin to question why they need rulers at all.
And haven't we seen in the since 9/11, a lot of our freedoms and liberties getting ratcheted back? My property taxes in the last 5 years have doubled.
Oh God.
So they're starting to take these freedoms back, but look what's happening in this country too. We're getting to the point where we're like, do we even need these jokers that we have in the White House?
Yeah,
And that's part of
I'm already thinking.
I think the consciousness waking up of like, hey, what the hell are we doing? We don't need these guys. We got to do something different. The systems don't work anymore. They worked in the past, but we're getting to the point where people are tired of it.
Yep. Yeah. Time to move on to something else. So we all need to take a moment and think about exactly what's going on from the top down, from when you take that loan, what that institution is doing to you, to other people, and then the system that's created that we're all just expected to fall in line in and do and work 50 years of our lives, 60 years of our lives. Work hard at it. We spend the first 18 prepping to work for the next 50, right?
Exactly.
If not more, because
and
it's college.
It's fucking backwards. Because
yeah.
you should be enjoying life when you're younger.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say, you know, it shouldn't be working, but you should mature into
a contributing member of society.
But even learning should be fun. It wasn't fun when I went to school. I was like, what the fuck? I'm going to school to learn, to do a job that you might hate, to retire, to die. It's like, well, great.
You summed it up. That should be our T-shirt, man. You know.
Hashtag life sucks.
Hashtag life sucks. Anyway, that's what I had for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And viewers, man, check out this video. There's a lot of great stuff out there.
This is Talk is Cheap. Pete Halbleib, Andrew Hohlfeld. Right. Thank you guys for joining us, and peace.